Dirty Truth Tellers.
So good evening, everyone. We're Epstein and Hassan, the Dirty Truth Tellers, and welcome to the Dirty Truth Tellers.
Yes.
So this is my beautiful wife, Naima Hassan. And, Valentine's Day passed.
I hate it.
And we don't do Valentine's Day. When I first met Hassan, I actually told her that because Valentine's Day is called Saint Valentine's Day, and I was raised Jewish, it's a great offense to Jewish people to give gifts on Valentine's Day.
I find it a great offense to women because somebody buys you some bullshit flowers and then you have to all of a sudden give them some pussy. So I don't want the pressure either. So forget it.
But what happened was about a year or so after we were dating, my father was still alive in those days. And Hassan said to him, God. I understand that Jewish people don't celebrate Valentine's Day. And he said, what kind of bullshit? He said, my son is just a cheap motherfucker. That was my own father. He called me out as a cheap motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he was telling the truth because Jews give gifts on Valentine's Day. I don't give, and I also don't like it. I don't want to be told that this is a day.
It's just way too much pressure. It's just too much pressure.
I'm supposed to be nice to her on that day, and then the next day you go back to your regular.
You know how many couples fight on that day?
Why don't you share that with us? How many? Do you have an exact number?
I would say out of 10, I would say at least 6 couples fight because of the pressure that they put on themselves to have a good romantic time. And
the one thing I really love about my wife is many things, but one of the main things is that she knows data, even though she's not taken one poll in her life.
I took a poll.
But the poll you take is not that kind of poll.
I took a poll.
You take a poll very well, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she's been missing long dark polls for a really long time. But
sacrifice. I'm a Buddhist.
She had to sacrifice, and
I'm a Buddhist.
She's had to settle for less long Jew polls.
Yeah, but at least his has compassion.
Or Polish Jews, whichever you want. Go. Yeah. But Hassan, I'm very excited tonight because tonight we really are going like on a time machine back in time.
Not too far back. You don't want
it's somewhere around 20-ish years. It could be 15. I'm not exactly sure. We used to perform frequently during that period of time at a place on the Lower East Side called Surf Reality. Yeah. And it was a wild place. And actually at that time, it was one of the best shows. It really was an amazing show. It was hosted by a guy named Faceboy. And it was one of the most open shows. You got 8 minutes.
To do your thing.
You did your thing. You weren't allowed to heckle the audience. Nope. And the audience couldn't heckle you. But it had a lot of really wild performers. And it would go on like forever. It went on like 6 hours or whatever.
That's right.
I usually could handle about an hour or two before I would start breaking. That was my thing. But one of our favorite performers during that era is the gentleman who we have as a guest tonight.
Yes.
We haven't seen him in many, many years, and really didn't know really what happened to him. I kind of know him from Facebook, not Faceboy, Facebook. Right. And you get a little thing on Facebook, but let's face it, everybody's lying their asses off on Facebook.
But I don't get he lies.
No, he's not a liar. No, I know that.
Shit's going on. You can smell it.
But people, you kind of, you never know on Facebook. Yeah, but let me just read his introduction here.
Yes.
Now, whenever I read, I have to put my glasses on.
So you're serious?
Well, people think it's because I'm old and I can't see, but this is more because I'm a newsman. Like when I put these glasses on, the newsman part of me comes out and I become more official.
Ooh,
you like that?
Yeah.
You like a strong white man telling you the news, don't you? Admit it. Do you enjoy that?
I live for it.
Yes. It actually gets her wet, but she's not going to say, you're bringing out the worst in me already.
Yeah, I know.
I'm already starting.
Yeah.
Okay. So his official name is Angel Finnegan, and here's some stuff about him. He went to Harvey Milk High School. He's a performer, an artist, and a poet. And that's mainly how I know him, as a performance poet. I didn't know he went to Harvey Milk High School. That's news to me. We'll find out about that as well, and what that school represents.
Yes.
But he's an author of 2 books, as far as I know. One is it's The Ode to the End of the American Dream, and Dark Burning Rain, volumes 1 and 2.
So that's 3 books.
That's actually 3 books.
Yes.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yes, 3. 2 + 1 =
3.
3.
And when you married a Jew, you thought I was going to be good in math.
Thought you would have
you thought
that
I was going to be very, very cheap.
Yeah. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Both books are intense dives into dark themes. And one thing I know about Finnegan is that his themes are dark. And here we go. The themes are seduction, rape, racism, hatred, malice, self-hatred, themes of suffering and self-destruction. Despite their dark, gritty natures, these books offer light, hope, and peace to those seeking deep grounding in poetry, and not just light, flimsy fantasy. And that is exactly how I remember Finnegan. So please welcome Finnegan. But Finnegan is time. And, you know, I know you're in Australia. So quickly, how did you end up in Australia?
And New York City is like an international place, right? And like I would meet people from all over the world. But one day in Brooklyn, I was fated in a club to meet this guy who was born in California and then left when he was 3 years old for Sydney and vowed he was going to come back one day to New York. So he came back to New York, you know, and he met me at this club, you know, and he was scared to talk to me, you know, but he got his friends, you know, to ask me questions about the clubs and stuff like that. And I answered, you know. Next thing I know, he was manipulating me over to his house and boom, you know. The next thing I know, that night, you know, after we had fucked, you know, his mother's knocking on the door, you know, Tiger, I'll be here, Tiger. Oh my God. So that very night, I was riding home on the train, you know, the next night with his Jewish mother, you know, who did not approve. She was like, I said a rich doctor.
That sounds like my mom.
No, he thought she said witch doctor.
Witch doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Witch doctor.
With the bone through my nose, you know?
Yeah.
So you're doing some Black Jew love then? This is Black Jew love.
Oh, yeah, it's Black Jew love. Yes, it is. It's Black Jew polyamorous love.
And love of any kind, amorous, polyamorous, whatever kind. We're into it. Yes.
Go ahead.
And we had a 3-man ceremony, unofficial ceremony in Brooklyn at a Airbnb, and the 3 of us like got bound together like a hand fast by my friend Renee, voodoo priest. This beautiful. When I thought, oh my God, I'm never gonna get married, you know, but there's magic in it, you know. Like after the ceremony, you feel really good and bound to this person, you know, or these people, you know. You feel really bound, you know. And then when you have fights or when you fuck or whatever you go through, you know what I mean? You remember that bond, you remember that bond.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For better or for worse. When you're bound to somebody, also like the way that our throuple works, you know, I travel to their mother countries. You know, I go to Holland, I go to Australia, you know, boom, 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 you know. All their mothers hate me, you know. But,
well, that's a good sign. That's actually a good sign.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't bring home to mother.
I always say to Hassan that marriage and monogamy are the ultimate bondage.
Yes.
Like if you're seriously into bondage, we've been married for 35 years. 35 years. That's some serious S&M. That's some serious that you're like I now have like horse blinders on because we're not what's the word polyamorous when you have mutual more than one partner, right? So we're just one-on-one. This is one-on-one fucking for 35 years. Now I got to admit I'm a creative guy, but you know you run out of all your shit after like 6 months.
Name it, we've been the characters.
We've been there. So we have to be very imaginative and creative, but it is a bondage. Like you are tied to one person and it's very deep and it does change right away. I noticed the same thing. As soon as you get married, there's something
about the contract and the commitment, the word commitment. It really, you know, it doesn't matter about the number of people. It's what are you committing to?
And you've committed to 2 different men.
Yeah.
Wow.
That have different needs.
And they're involved with each other as well. They're also it's like
it's what you call a V. The V formation. It starts out from my heart, and then it extends out to theirs.
Wow.
You know, it's not a closed triangle, but an open V.
Wow, that's beautiful. That really is beautiful.
In the ceremony, in order to them to make a triangle, you know, they gave each other a friendship ring. And it makes me cry. I'm so happy to pick two people, you know, who don't hate each other. You know, first of all, they love to gossip about me because I'm such a bad boy. I'm so naughty. They get to go, ooh, that slut. Ooh. Complain. You know, but also like they are like sisters. They are like sisters. But here's a flip, right? When they get together, they do man stuff, you know. I'm in the house in the kitchen, you know, hair and makeup and shit, you know. They do man stuff, you know, because like they're actually practical together that way. Whereas, you know, like for cooking for me, you know, whereas I will not be doing the cooking, I pick out the recipe, honey. I pick out the recipe.
That all of you found a place and an agreement with each other that you can be and do what you do. And I think with couples, a lot of times in relationships, we're not honest about that. You know, traditional stuff has a way of causing us to have fear to do what we feel is natural. Feel guilty about it. I don't want to tell my partner this. For instance, I didn't want children. I've never wanted children.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that.
Her coochie is an entrance. It's not an exit.
Right.
It's one way in, you know, and once you're in there, you can't get out.
And that's not an easy thing to tell someone without them saying, oh, did something happen to you?
You know what most people say? Most people, when a woman tells you that, you always say she's lying or she's going to want them
something's
in the future.
Wrong with her.
But, you know, one thing I do remember very much about Finnegan is that Finnegan is all about telling the truth. He's like got a bullshit. He will, if you're bullshitting, he has zero tolerance. If you thought they had zero tolerance for Nancy Reagan for drugs, he's got zero tolerance for bullshit, and he will tell you and call you out.
Yeah,
I've always found you to be extremely honest in your work. That's how I think of you. Very, very honest person, and I can't see you faking things or being real to your partners. So I've seen photos, I think, of one of your partners.
Tiger, I think.
That's the Jewish guy?
Yeah.
Tiger is Jewish.
Now, yes.
Oh. Yeah.
So like in Australia, like when you're Jewish, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh God, dude, Australia is horrible because like what would happen if like all the people who were Trump supporters, like exterminated all of the competition? Australia would be that country. Okay. Now, this is a country where this is a bully country, used to people having, you know, people to pick on, you know, because they're special, you know, but they never had the training of diversity to know how to properly treat anyone else, never mind each other. So they're horrible to each other here. The way that they treat each other, it's not a nice culture at all, especially the gay culture. It is vicious here, you know, it's vicious, and it is like, ooh, girl, try to find a husband here, honey. No.
You know what?
Order a husband maybe for an hour.
You know what, Finnegan? It's interesting hearing you say that, because when we are in the group that's the minority, right, we're a lot of times vicious to each other because we feel like there's not a lot of slots for us. So I got to get all the shit. You know, I've got to be the queen, whatever that means. I've got to do that. And it's kind of like we're playing right into their hands.
Yeah. But here the thing is like I'm not like the apple of the eye here, you know, but that's great because I get to move invisibly in their community. You know what I mean? They don't even see me, you know what I mean? But I see everything. And I don't mind that position because I'm not about getting attention. I'm about observing, just watching what's going on. You know, that's what a writer does, you know, not get attention, you know?
Right.
So like while I'm here, well, like, it's just like, except for Tiger, you know, I don't go for the locals, man. They're horrible. They're shallow, you know? They're like, why don't you pick a name, my last name. Why don't you pick a more Black last name? I try to explain to Finnegan, is my last name. I didn't make that up, No. I mean, like, why can't you pick something from your own culture? Not understanding like that in America, like it's a melting pot of people, and the white people who think that they're all white, if you look in their background, there's a little drop of black blood. And
I'm there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
but
there's
it's
a
like
thing called slavery.
Yeah.
The Irish were fucking that's why you have a name Finnegan.
But it's not that the Irish had slaves, though. This is the story of Finnegan. When the Irish came to America, they were thrown in the ghettos right alongside the blacks.
Yes,
absolutely.
So what happened was they fucked. Of course they fucked.
Yeah.
Of course because they were the niggers too,
Yeah.
And now the irony is, like, the Irish in America, they're not in the same position anymore. Now they're with the racists.
Absolutely.
Some of the worst.
With the racists.
Some of the worst. Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, just two names that pop off the top. But we were talking about that earlier today, about white supremacy in general. I mean, you live in Australia, so white supremacy, they're not, that's like the definition of Australia.
The training ground.
Yes.
So I was trying to explain to Hassan that, with white people, obviously all white people in America are privileged. And a lot of white people in America refuse to accept that reality. They don't have a sensitivity towards Black people. Now there are certain valid issues in the United States that are not debatable issues. Black people start the game with 6 cents on the dollar compared to white people. So that's a major difference in a country that bases everything on wealth. It's a massive difference.
Yes.
And Jim Crow and white supremacy is back full force in the United States. Everybody said when Obama won, except everybody but us, that we had moved into a post-racial America.
Bullshit.
Obama spent 8 years as hard as he could, not doing anything for Black people. He was not a person. He was so sensitive to being judged that he took it to the extreme where he even allowed the water in Flint, Michigan to be poisoned. Because I kept saying to Hassan, Obama has to do one thing as president. He has to tell all the white people, I'm not going to let you poison Black people in Flint, Michigan. And you want to know something? Even the whitest racist would have understood. Hey,
and who cares if they didn't?
He's a Black president. He's not going to let his people be poisoned. But he went there and said the water was okay. In the Michael Moore film, he faked it. He didn't drink it. So the white supremacy is deep here. Yeah. And in Australia, by the way, whenever you see those Australians, you can remind them of their history. All of their ancestors were gangsters. That's how they ended up in Australia, because the British threw them the hell out, including, the British, the worst people on earth, everyone. That queen should be hung. She has COVID. Usually I feel bad when I hear people got COVID. She got it. Things are. Go ahead.
So tell me, what was your experience going to the high school you went to, and why did you choose that high school?
I started off 1985 with my dad dying, and my dad was like a devout Jehovah's Witness. So like that part of my life, boom, it instantly ended. And like I saw this thing on Merv Griffin about the Harvey Milk School at the beginning of the summer. I was like, nah, I'm not going to go to a school like that. But I came out that summer, and then I was homeless. And I decided in some point during being homeless, you know what? I need to have some structure in my life, because being homeless is not fun. So I put myself through high school, in a safe environment that was not like, me worrying about having to get beat up, where I could go and drag if I wanted to, Wow. So like I could focus on my education. And my whole family, really conservative, Black, wealthy, they turned their back on me. First, all the Jehovah's Witnesses, all the people in the religion, they turned their back on me. I tried to leave New York, and go to California. And my mother called ahead and said, if you accept him, we'll call the cops and tell them that you kidnapped him. So then my family in California were too scared to take me. And I was stuck in New York, with this really toxic mother, who's still around, and still denies my existence and is rolling in cash. You know what I mean?
Really?
The point of going to that school was to focus on my education during all this, you know?
Right.
I did not know this, but when my dad died, of course there was money left behind, you know, to take care of the children's education, you know? But I wondered that year, you know, why my sister disappeared and why, you know, like, I started like not getting money for anything and there was no food in the house. And then it's like, what's going on here? You know, what was going on was like she was living somewhere else, rolling in the cash and spending that money on her education. And she's a judge now. But all the shit she did, you know, was to feather her nest, you know what I mean? While denying all of her descendants, me, you know, her grandchildren, you know, and their children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like I went to that school like to come out and to stay out.
Now, is your mother's issue with you about your sexuality, or is it?
It was a cheap excuse, you know, to get to the money, follow the money. I thought that it was about that. You know, no, not at all. She has gay friends. She's fucking this girl who's gay, you know. She's bisexual, okay? She's a hypocrite. It's not about my sexuality. It's about the fucking money. Exactly. All the fucking money.
Well, here, I mean,
it's so true, though, in everything.
Our country is all about God. There is a God. It's called cash.
Yeah.
We worship money.
Yeah.
Like people literally, they might as well get on their knees instead of praying.
Do.
But when they're praying, it's really just praying, give me more money, give me more cash. You know, and you said about your sister being a judge. We were just talking. My mother was a judge.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this because in Minnesota, the judge gave the female cop who killed the guy in Minnesota,
the young black guy,
she gave him a very light sentence. It just came out yesterday. And what the judge did, she cried as she was sentencing him about how dangerous police work is. So this person, I was reading an article, how hard it is for the police because they have to make split-second decisions. So she gave this female cop like a year and a half after killing someone. And this person actually said something, and I was reading that was very interesting. She said, judges are lower than the police. They're lower than cops. They're the ultimate scum. And from watching Law and Order I now watch Law and Order 12 times a day during the Corona. I started like becoming obsessed with Law and Order. Judges are scum and they rule. They're like kings and gods. They do whatever the hell they want. And that's your mother. Oh my Lord. I can't imagine. My mother couldn't have been a judge.
But you know what? The fascinating thing is, would you have created this body of work if you didn't have this fuel to fire your heart?
Because I did everything that I did, which is the opposite advice that my mother gave. I saw my mother recently at a funeral and she was gagging. I showed up like Joan Collins at that funeral, you know,
beautiful,
totally inappropriately dressed like Hellraiser, you know, all leather and chains and shit. Everybody else in suit and tie, you know, black church thing. And she was like, your Uncle Eric, he's selling his work. He's making 34 cents a word, you know, publishing his recipes, you know. Like, why don't you do that? How come you're not famous yet? You ever think you're going to be famous? You know, and then like recently when she spoke to me on Zoom, she's like, oh, you publish a book. I guess that means you think you're famous now, you know, just like stab, you know. Meanwhile, it's not about that. Like everything she tells me to do, when you analyze it, it's the recipe to fail.
But you know what? If she wasn't your mother, and you were telling me about this person in your life, my first thought was, what is she so envious of his life for?
Wow.
Like if it wasn't your mother.
No, even if it is his mother.
I mean, but you would have the space to look at it differently. If let's say it was me and I was a friend of yours and I'm responding that way, you would have the space to see Naima's got something going on, and it's almost like she's jealous that I'm doing something in my life that I'm not asking for approval. I'm not asking for your approval. I want to share this with you. I'm not asking for your approval. So a lot of times my experience has been parents have that need to want us to beg them for approval.
Wow.
When you don't, it does not matter what else you do. That plan B shit, it don't work. So what we both have recognized, and you can take this with a grain of salt, you got to stop going to her for that, because she's not equipped to give it to you.
I know that, though. I have known that. I knew a long time that the setup was beg me.
Yes, absolutely.
Beg me. But like when I first asked her, listen, okay, you're not going to give me money anymore. I'll go out and get a job. Will you please buy a suit for me? No, go out and get a job and pay for your own suit. Now it's like your mind starts to get loopy. All right. How the hell are you going to do that?
Yeah.
It's so hard to start that way with no support.
She sounds like a Jewish mother with this money control. No, I'm really serious, because that's what a lot of Jewish parents do. They control you with money. They literally, you're like a dog that if you're a good dog, here's a biscuit.
Here's a biscuit.
And if you're a bad dog, no biscuit. But I have to ask him one thing before we move forward, because when you were talking about being in church, when I used to go to church with Hassan's mother, all those ladies in the what is it, Baptist church?
The ushers in the white outfits.
Those white outfits.
With the dominatrix.
With the dominatrix look. I was picturing one of those white suited ushers when he came in a leather outfit.
Oh, they gave you
just taking him downstairs and whipping him. Whipping you for Jesus, man.
In their mind,
whipping you for Jesus in them white outfits with the white gloves, and you're gonna sit
here. As
they
were sitting there,
I went to the wrong
take
seat.
The pastor away from his wife and talking all kind of shit. Right?
Well, oh my God.
Those white ladies, they didn't like where I sat. And I didn't realize, these are some hardcore.
Oh, you don't come in and sit where you
want to sit. These are some dominatrixes, man. It's like, you be white boy. You sit where I tell you to sit.
Yeah.
What they didn't realize was that got my dick a little hard. But that's another. A lady in a white suit ordering me around.
So tell me, the latest book that you wrote, what's the latest one? Can you read
something for us?
A small poem from it?
A small poem. What is a small poem in this? Okay. How about this one? Passions of Man.
Give us a taste.
I am that all, that call to oneness, thrusting fist and twisting lips. My word, my honor, calls to my reflected selves. I am that man. I am that man, has the shapes of heaven, shafts so holy piercing round him, holy holes and heated halos. I am ramming home with bones so cold, taking him the love to fold around himself in times of doubt. I am mighty in the female, mighty to the shapes of birth, the shapes of children, twisting past, the speed, the pleasure, the speed, and the passions of woman has taught me something, the endurance of evidence, this bleeding rain of light, the craving, the itching for darkness, the hunger, the faces of ghosts, lost beside me, alone, beside me he is not, and the passions of man has taught me nothing.
Well, I heard music behind it.
Very passionate.
The music is in your head,
Yeah.
That's what poetry, you make the music yourself.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I thought to myself, I don't really know how to listen to poetry correctly. I think people need to actually be taught how to do that. It's not something, it's affecting a different kind of part of the brain or the mind, however you think of it, than other things. And you have to understand it that way. Like I like the way you read, though. I mean, you are, the way
you read is musical, though.
Yes. And your voice is a great, it's a great instrument. You should
do a lot of readings of your work.
Yeah. Well, he does. I mean, that's what he
I try.
But unless you make money, because we had a similar experience. We wrote a book, and so I told a friend of mine that Hassan and I wrote a book about our marriage, what you can and cannot say during interracial sex.
And I love that. That's hilarious.
Goes, who's publishing it? I said, we're publishing it. We sent it to the agents and stuff, but to him that meant we weren't writing a book.
Exactly.
And he tried to hurt my feelings by saying that, but he was incorrect, because it didn't hurt my feelings. What I realized was that I don't need someone, same thing with just any type of performing. I don't need you to tell me I'm good. because you are a person who went to some college and got a job reading books and you think you know. Don't forget, they told Herman Melville that Moby Dick sucked. So I don't really care what, I mean, the greatest artists are always, you know, the people that don't get recognized.
Once they die, then all of a sudden you get it.
But just because published,
Schools.
and I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. You know, and we live in a world, because, you know, we were talking about this the other day. Songwriters, if your music is up on Spotify and you wrote the song, you get 0.42 cents. That's not even half a penny. You're getting less than half a penny per hit that you get on Spotify. So you can have thousands of hits still not make a couple of $100, hundreds of thousands of hits.
That's right.
And what I was wondering, I said to Hassan, so 0.42, like they couldn't even give you half a penny, but they said, you know what? We won't want to give him just 0.40. So we'll give him 0.42. That shit out, 0.42. Where did you come up with that?
And the thing is, Finnegan, you can talk about race, right? People, they'll handle that. You can even talk about gender. But when you deal with class, it makes people very uncomfortable because you can't have rich unless you have poor. And we don't want to look at that. We really are.
All right. Just some really, let's do the math here. All right.
Loves deep shit.
99% of the people in the world poor. 1% of the people in the world rich. Okay. Why the fuck should we care about 1% of the human population?
Yeah.
99% of us are starving.
Yes.
Crazy, you know why? Man. Oh my God. So like me, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Oh, I'm going to be rich. I want to be richer job creators. Trickle down, you know. Trickle down my ass, man.
Well, they've tricked us.
Trickle down my ass.
They've tricked us. They've got us so busy.
There's never going to be a trickle down, you know. Like what we need is a good IRS. We need to tax those motherfuckers and prepare the fucking balance, honey. But fix the infrastructure, honey. Fix it. Fix it, Jesus. Fix it. Fix it. Fix
it. There's another solution.
They're bugging out right now. All they're doing is making. It's like the people in government, they're taking the money that they're supposed to use for the government, and they're padding up their bank accounts with it.
Do you know this Super Bowl that was just here? How many private jets?
After the Super Bowl, 140 private jets left Los Angeles airport within 2 hours after the Super Bowl. 140. Now, all these people claim they care about climate warming. I mean, you're flying private jets?
And they were every ethnic background you can imagine.
Well, this is what I think also has happened. They've convinced people that, you know, we saw them. I don't know if you saw the movie, what was it called? The Summer of Soul. Have you seen that? It's about an event that took place in Harlem in 1969, where they had
I was born.
Where Black people had, it's a great movie. If you get a chance, it's on Netflix, I think, Summer of Soul. It's about the whole Black community in Harlem came together. And it was a concert that had like Black artists and this
old school, the staple singers, Mahalia Jackson, and Sly and the Family Stone.
This artist had an interesting point. They said in 1969, we stopped being Negroes and we started being Black. And America wasn't ready for that.
And cut that shit out.
This was, but the point I was making, at that time, there was a number of people in the film who was talking about raising up the whole Black community. It was about raising up as a family. We all rise or we don't. That's changed. Now you want to build your brand. And you think that people like Jay-Z are important because he's got $3 billion.
That's right.
If you've got $3 billion, that means that you're a gangster. You cannot have that unless you exploit any billionaire. There's no Jay-Z is often saying he wants generational wealth. Generational wealth is what ruins the world. Paris Hilton is still living off her grandfather's money. That's not the way. If you drop dead, we should get most of your money. We should get your money. But they have it set up the other way that they protect the their, you don't pay anything, like $100 million.
I mean, come on, that queen, how many bags must she have? How many bags must that chick have? All right.
But she's worried
under
about
her eyes, under her breasts. Which one? Which one?
In that little bag she carries, I think there's a big dildo. I think she has an electronic dildo in that
she
bag.
don't want shit. She wants power. She wants that gin, because she has a gin and tonic every day. You drink gin, you know you wild, okay? You can't drink gin at 90 years old as you drink it.
It's like 9 in the morning. He's not drinking gin. Well, maybe he is. I don't know. But Hassan's got some lightning round.
Just water.
Okay. I got some lightning round questions I want to ask.
Okay, cool.
Here's the lightning round.
All right. Samantha from Bewitched or I Dream a Genie?
Bewitched.
Okay. Really? Wow. I would have seen you going for Genie, jumping into that bottle. Him in that bottle. Come on. Sliding in there. Yeah.
Okay. Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings.
Potter.
Okay. Holding a grudge or getting even?
Getting even.
Voodoo or witchcraft?
Witchcraft.
Top or bottom?
Versatile.
Okay. Sense of humor or versus sarcasm?
Sarcasm.
Okay. Hugs versus kisses?
Hugs.
Okay. You have to have this outfit on for the rest of your life. Leather pants or cotton pants?
Leather, of course.
She's on it, Finnegan.
Just checking. When is the last time you wore a pastel color? Oh my God.
All right, we'll go back to that question.
We'll go back.
I don't ever remember in my life putting on pastel for any occasion, not even for my funerals. Okay. No pastel. So
I want one day you to wear either red, purple, or orange and think of me. Wear it for an hour.
Okay, I have red things. I like red tops. Sometimes I've got like red cocktail twin shirt. I can rock red like on the top. Sure, no problem.
No,
like a little splash of red.
Okay.
No, pink.
Have you ever? Do you find redheads sexually attractive? Are you drawn to redheads?
I'm married to a redhead.
That's why I want you to hear it, because I used to.
I'm married to a redhead.
Now my red hair is kind of.
Here's the thing about redheads is that they have a high tolerance for pain. Remember that, boys and girls.
See, this is what they didn't teach you in school. Okay.
Of course not.
You have a situation that you have to deal with. Do you create a spell or do you pray?
Spell.
Okay. Sea creature versus a creature that lives in the mountains. You had to be one. Which would you choose?
Wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. Mountains.
Okay. Why did you say you can't believe you're saying that?
Because I have wings.
Okay, but you can fly in the mountains.
Fly.
Yes.
Yeah, you can fly in the mountains. I would imagine that the mountains would you'd have more room to move than in the sea.
Yeah. But also the sea, I'd be dinner, honey.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. Yeah. Oh yeah. Your ass is not resting.
No.
Nervous down there.
Honey.
Okay. So you kind of already answered this one, but you have to choose. You're dating someone who likes pain versus dating someone who likes more than one partner. You have to choose one or the other.
Of course, someone who likes more than one partner. I like orgies, okay? I like group sex. Okay? My porn's always got group sex, so
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Because you said you came out in the mid '80s, so you've seen a transition, as I have, because my age just put me in the late '70s, early '80s, when the New York scene, especially pre-AIDS, was crazy sex. Like down in Meatpacking District, there were all these dungeons and S&M clubs. Mm-hmm. And then what I've noticed through time is that scene became very artificial, almost like a fashion show. It wasn't hardcore anymore. I don't know if all the hardcore people from the 70s and the 80s maybe got AIDS and died. I don't know. But the scene, it became a very different thing. And now when it's almost like people are going to a party. It's not whore, like the S&M.
Yeah.
Well, that movie
There
that
are even
came out,
movies now about S&M. You know,
what is it? What was that movie that came
a big
out?
hit movie.
And it was so lame. It was an S&M
No, I know what
movie.
you're talking about. I can't remember the name. It was a big hit movie.
Dakota.
Eyes Wide Shut.
No,
that was another one that was a weird movie.
Dakota Johnson played the lead. She was dating a guy that was into bondage and S&M. 50 Shades.
50 Shades.
50 Shades of Grey. Okay.
Yeah. And it was just like, no, this is so no.
Do you remember that scene though, in the 80s? Were you a part of that whole scene going down, like where the meatpacking area was, like dungeons and all that kind of stuff? Were you into public?
Dude, I was like 13, 14, 15. I was too young to get involved in that stuff. Like when I fully came out in 85, I was like 16 years old. Sweet 16. So then like from 85 to the 90s, from 16 to 20, I had the East Village culture and Pier culture to raise me. The damn shit I have no parents.
Yeah, but there weren't that many blacks in the East Village. I remember you.
Yeah, but that's because we were in the West Village, right? But in 1989, like the Pier went from black to white.
Hello.
And it got whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter and whiter. And then all the black people who were used to going to the piers and continue to go to the piers, they had cops stopping them now for going down to the piers, playing their music loud. Wait a minute, why are you stopping them from playing their music loud when there's nobody here to complain about that? This is down by the water, where no, you can't play that here, and it's like the more white the pier got, like the more policed it got.
Have you seen it now?
So then black people had to move, to the East Village, because that's where the Latinos were anyway. The Latinos stayed on the East side, and they didn't move, from what I know, they're still there.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the pier now? Because a lot of rich people
trees on it, yes. This is the weird thing. Like I had this dream when I was like living in Chelsea about there being trees on the pier. Like that's weird. Who would put trees on the pier? But then I went back like in 2000. Oh my God, there's trees on the pier.
Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible.
Now, I actually hate what's happened down there. Like Christopher Street. That near the water, because it's now like ritzy. They even had a moment they changed. They put benches back where, because I used to like to read over there. I go near the water and read. That you weren't able to sit.
They didn't want you to sit there.
They didn't want people to sit. You had to keep moving. So they took out all the benches.
And they had cops.
They blocked off all the areas where you could sit.
Because the people living in those high-rise apartments,
right across the street,
they don't want to look at their window and see us.
Right. It's now like very, very, it's clean though. It's so clean.
Yeah.
It's beyond
belief. They don't want to look out and see the people who, my God.
They don't want to, they really don't. So, so you have any final questions?
Well, keep doing what you're doing.
You look great, by the way.
I'm coming to New York. Yeah. I'm coming to New York for July. So
definitely.
I'm hoping
hook up with us too when you come in and let us know when you're coming.
I plan on that because I want to tour for the books.
Oh, great,
beautiful,
great.
Beautiful.
And that'll make your mom proud, if you make it some money.
Yes, sure will.
Tell her, just lie to her. Like I told my parents, I said, Ma, I'm making like hundreds of thousands doing my comedy on the Lower East Side. They were so proud. My mother was felling. He finally is making something of himself.
Yeah.
I said, they pay
my mother
really
would hate
great.
that news that I got made. She would be so horrified, man. They're like, oh my God, it's hard, bad news. Hey, go figure.
That's a suffering human being.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And it's because they're connected to us, it's not always easy to heal from it. But you feel like you want to save them, and that's their karma.
See, I have an unusual view of parents. Like, I think that parents were unbelievably selfish to have children, because they bring people into a world of unbelievable cruelty, unbelievable suffering. It's not a beautiful thing. Like, people make such a big deal when a baby is born. Really? Well, now they're in this world for 80 years of torture and greed and it's not such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We know people in their 60s and 70s that are having babies. in this world.
Wow.
In this world, they're having babies. And I'm like, what selfish motherfuckers. I mean, you want to bring a person into this world, like with the climate change and all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a romantic about that, as you can tell. I'm definitely not a romantic. I think you're being super cruel to bring people into the world.
And I also think that parents have a bullshit idea about what their kid should be. My mother, when she had me, expected me to be a teacher, definitely not marry a white dude, and definitely not pursue what I'm doing. Your parents definitely did not think you would be marrying a Black woman, and your mother thought that you would be a lawyer, whatever. So when your kid does live their heartbeat, a lot of parents can't hold it because they didn't.
See, my thing was...
Wow, okay, well, thank you for that.
Thank
you for saying that, because you illuminated something really important for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She's a good illuminator.
Yeah.
You know, and I always was messing with, you know, the way my relationship with my mother, I definitely should have been gay. You know, but I didn't make the move to being gay. I made the move to get as far away from her as possible. So I went to Black women, you know, because I had to get away from her. I could, you know, the only thing about her, she did have like Black Afro kind of hair. But other than that, you know, because I always like, you know, I'm surprised that I didn't grow up to be a gay person with this mother, this, you know, kind of ball crushing.
It's not the mother. They say it's a genetic thing.
Do you believe that? What do you really, do you believe
I think it's a genetic thing, because I think like being gay is like nature's birth control. The gays have existed throughout history. Why? There's a purpose for it. And the purpose is to prevent the human race from breeding out of control. You know, it's really that simple.
And again,
but also there's a message.
I've taught kids that were in second grade, and I knew it, that they were a gay child. And their parents did not see it. And I said, this is really painful. They can't see it because it's all about me. If I have a gay child, then I fucked up.
Then I failed somehow.
I failed. Yet your kid can be a CEO, a killer, a murderer, fire thousands of people from their jobs, take their income. That's okay. You've got to set what your barometer is. Nobody else can do that for you.
And you're very lucky because you are getting some Jew love.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, I know that when you get some Jew love, it's very hard to, like, for you, I always worry if I drop dead, what is she going to do? I mean,
I'm going to go live with Finnegan. What are you kidding?
You're not going to live in Australia. That I can guarantee.
Why?
Well, first of all, it's like the whitest place on earth. They're super conservative. It's not.
If he can be there,
but he's there in a different attitude as you. He's there to observe this. You would be there battling.
No, I'm not an observer.
You'd be battling.
I'm not an observer. No, I'm in the shit.
You're definitely not an observer.
No.
So let's close out.
Yes.
Give him his assignment, because that's the Menage a Trois.
So Finnegan, the name of the show is Epstein and Hassan Go Menage a Trois. Now, if we were in the 60s, we could smoke some weed, drop some acid, and we could have a ball. Can't do that right now. Well, he's doing it.
He's doing it, but he's in Australia.
It's Australia because of COVID. So what we want you to do is end your mind.
Yes.
Right.
And he's got a great mind.
I want you to have us, right? I want you to imagine Epstein fully red hair.
Let him do his own thing. In his case, you don't need that much advice.
Muscles, right? Yeah. I'm taller. Okay, I'm a little taller.
Because this is the only way you can have group sex in the new millennium. It is because we can't be together, so we're on Zoom. So what we're gonna do tonight is Sunday. We don't usually fuck around on Sunday, but the next time we make love, at our age, we have to plan that like 3 days in advance, so we don't eat. You got to clean all the crap out.
Citizens, honey.
You know, the farting, the gas during sex.
Yeah.
Unless you're really into it, it's not. Most people, it's kind of turned off.
Yeah.
You know, I never know now. You know, I don't want to gas up in the bed and think I'm gonna fart.
And I could have a hot flash and stab it.
You know that experience when you think it's a fart, but it's actually a little bit wet.
Yeah.
I don't want that happening.
There's been no communication. Yeah.
So we're gonna fuck you, and since we're doing him in our heads, let's bring Tiger along too.
And the other one.
The other one, I don't know what he looks like. I know what Tiger looks like.
Who's the other one? You know, what's his other one?
Bart.
Okay.
Bart. Yeah. Bart just recently went to Amsterdam. Like, if you guys don't come to Sydney, to visit me, then you can definitely come to Amsterdam. That's more your speed and style.
Yeah, you know, they just legalized marijuana in the city. So now whenever you walk around Manhattan, it's like
Oh, wow.
People think it's Amsterdam now. People say to me, wow, it's like Amsterdam. I smell weed everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
dispensaries.
They haven't legally opened them yet because it's New York and there's licensing.
Trying to find way to make
get more money. But you can smoke weed now. It's totally legal,
and everybody is into it. The judge, who's the black judge?
Yeah, Clarence Thomas's wife
is into
the marijuana weed. Business. All the hedge fund guys.
These people are sick.
They're unbelievable.
Okay,
so we will be fucking you in our minds over the next.
Yay!
So if you're laying in Australia and suddenly you feel some weird thing, like
that's us.
That's us. We're doing it, and it won't last long. At our age, you don't have to worry. It'll be like.
It's over. It's over by now.
You don't want to risk it. Like I'm always, even when I go down on her now, when I go down on her, I say, listen, I'm not spending too much time because I got to breathe. You know, I can't be down here.
My legs, I can't keep up, honey. My muscles get tight. That shit hurts. But before
she fell asleep while I was eating her. Yeah. That's how old we are now. Yeah. While I'm down there and she sees a white guy eating, I
punched him in the face, Finnegan. I didn't know.
She didn't know why a white man was eating a pussy.
But there's a friend of yours that I think we met through you. That's a sweetheart, Chris
Greta.
Yes. So
Chris, he's our Facebook friend.
Yeah, we
know him through you. Yes. And I like Chris because
you can see Chris. Chris is a trans guy, and I didn't know this about him when I met him. I met him in the early phase, you know, when he was still a woman. You know, Chris and I went through this weird, you know. We worked. That was the first surf reality thing I did. Like I worked with Chris doing art and doing poetry. Amazing poet. But then Chris left America and went to France. You know, and then I left America and went to Amsterdam, and we met in Spain in 2006. Wow. Holy shit!
Wow,
it's great. It's great.
Wow.
That's where we reconnected. And then recently, when I came back to the States, I met with Chris in Madison, Wisconsin, which is like in the middle of fucking nowhere.
I mean,
Wisconsin.
I'm sure they put a bulletin out when you arrived. Yeah, like what?
Yes, they did. This? But I managed to get Chris away from Madison to Atlanta, Georgia, with another friend, my ex-girlfriend Kim. My ex-stripper girlfriend Kim. And they used to be lovers. They're back to being in a relationship now. Yay! Cupid.
Yes.
There's Cupid. There is.
We love you.
We love you. It's great.
Stay safe.
It was so great to see you.
It was great speaking with you too, and I'll imagine the paria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'll be the first one falling asleep. Love you.
And I'll be the first one to come.
I can help with that. Take care.
This is Epstein and Hassan, the Dirty Truth Tellers. And here's a little black Jew love for you. A little bit, even a black Jew titty grab. Look at that.
There you go.
Thank you very much.